What's up, fight fans? DJ Kryptonite here again. I also want to discuss this Shawn Porter Terrance Crawford upcoming fight. Um, should be a good fight. I'm looking forward to seeing it because Shawn Porter doesn't, he takes all fights. I think he's probably has one of the better, not a I won't call it as a better resume in the welterweight division, but because when we look at resumes, we're looking at how, it's almost like you've been in big fights, but how many big fights have you won? And with Shawn Porter, I don't know if he's won any real big fights, like with the top welterweights. He's fallen short. So I'm not really sure how I feel about people really giving him a chance with Crawford because he's gone up against a lot of big name welterweights and fallen short. And yeah, it's one thing to be in a fight and it's very close and that sort of thing. But if you're not winning the fights, at some point we have to call it what it is. And he's been at the short end on many of these fights. He was on the short end with Errol Spence. He got knocked down by Adrian Broner. We can name all of the fights he's been in, and he's fallen short. I believe he fought one time Keith Thurman came up short in that fight. It's very difficult to pick him as having a chance in this fight with Crawford. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it'll be a good fight, but because Shawn Porter does come ready to fight, he's always in good shape. Never really runs out of gas. He's always in your face, brawler type. That's his best chance to win anyway. He shouldn't try to outbox Crawford. That's a no-win situation because Crawford's a technician, so that's not gonna bode well for him to try to outbox or that sort of thing. So he probably just needs to stay on top of him like a blanket. He just needs to stay in his pocket, like not let him breathe, not let him move, not let him. He should cut the ring off. He should be in his face the whole time. His head should be in Crawford's chest all night long. And maybe at that point, or with that style of fighting, maybe Crawford will run out of gas because you have this kind of pit bull just coming at you, leaning on you the whole fight. Other than that, I really don't see him having a big chance at winning this fight. Like I said, he's fought all the big names, hadn't beat anybody. So yeah, you're willing to fight everybody, but you're not winning. It's almost like in NASCAR. I guess you're one of the best drivers in the world, in NASCAR, especially on the circuit or whatever. You may be in the circuit or, one of the better drivers, but you hadn't won a race. You're always in the races. You look good. You finish 5, 6, 8, 9, but you're never number one. You never get over the hump to be number one. He hadn't become number one. Like he just can't get over the hump. You have to beat a big name to be the big name. If that makes sense, you can't just I gave a good fight, on all of the top 5 welterweights I fought. Put up a good fight. I put up a good fight on all of them, every one of them, but I never won. So would you be considered a top fighter at that point? Probably not. You have to beat somebody at some point with a name. So maybe I'm dwelling on Shawn Porter too much in this fight. He needs to put a good showing in place. Hopefully he wins. It'll kind of stamp him as one of the better welterweights at that point because then he'll have a name under his belt. But right now he has no names. And Crawford's dilemma in this fight is he hadn't fought anybody. Crawford hadn't fought anybody. He was fighting under Top Rank. He still fights under Top Rank, I believe. And he's fighting under Top Rank, and there's nobody there for him to fight. But they still mark him as one of the best welterweights. But I don't even know what measuring stick you're using. How he looks, but you're looking at him against mediocre competition. So I don't know. I know you can only do with, fight only who they put in front of you. However, we can't judge you until you get in there with somebody who actually can measure how good you are. And in this particular case, because Shawn Porter has been in a lot of fights, big fights with big names, we can see what Crawford does in comparison to how the other boxers fought Porter or dealt with Porter. Because Porter's going to put pressure until a pipe bursts. That's what he's a pressure fighter, and we'll see if Crawford can deal with the pressure. Now, Crawford is suspect to getting caught here and there. So, because sometimes Crawford keeps that chin out there. So Porter may get lucky with something. That's quite possible. But if the pressure doesn't break Crawford down and he's able to deal with it, it could be a fairly easy fight for Crawford. And it can be won in points, really. I don't see him knocking Shawn Porter out, but I do see it being an easy fight if the pressure that Shawn Porter puts on him is able to be handled by Crawford. And I think that's quite possible. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the fight. My prediction is I'm gonna go out on a limb on it, and I'm gonna say that I believe Shawn Porter is going to beat Terrance Crawford. That's what I think. I think he's going to apply enough pressure to throw Crawford off his game, and it may get into a brawl. And once we start getting into a brawl, that may be to Shawn Porter's advantage, as long as Shawn Porter doesn't get caught with one of those check hooks, because he's been caught by a check hook by Errol Spence, put down. He got caught by a check hook by Adrian Broner, put down. So he is susceptible to a nice hook, and Crawford has a nice hook. So if he avoids that, I think he can beat Crawford. So my prediction is Shawn Porter by win. I don't know how that will come. Knockout, decision. My prediction is I think Shawn Porter should win this fight. Well, not should win. I'm saying he will win. But I think the odds are against him because he is not the favorite. So, but I'm gonna go out on the limb and believe that. Let me know in your comments what you think. Again, this is DJ Kryptonite talking boxing. Deuces.